This is a quick teaching on the second coming of Jesus. That the second coming of Jesus is not a private thing, that the entire world will know when Jesus comes at his second coming. So I'm going to show you this real quick out of Revelation chapter 6. We're going to start at verse 12. This is the opening of the sixth seal. And when the sixth seal is open, you're at the end of the 7-year tribulation period. If you want to watch my videos on YouTube on the full layout of the book of Revelation, just go on YouTube and type in part 1 or PT1, the pre-wrath rapture and the third coming of Jesus. PT2, PT3, PT4, PT5, the pre-wrath rapture and the third coming of Jesus. And you can watch my entire layout on the book of Revelation. So here after the sixth seal is open, it says, Revelation 6:12, I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree catches her untimely figs when she's shaken of a mighty wind. You see these same events in Matthew 24 and verse 29. They happened immediately after the tribulation of those days, which according to Matthew 24 and 21, is a time of great tribulation. So by the time you get down to verse 29, it is at the end of the 7-year period when you see these events. So according to that and what I just read, and knowing that those events happen at a certain time, we know that the things I'm about to read to you now in verse 14 on down to verse 17 will happen at the end of the 7 years or after the 7-year period is over. So verse 14, it says, the heaven departed as a scroll when it's rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. The reason that every mountain and island will move out of their places and the heaven departed as a scroll, because at the end of the 7 years, we know Jesus comes to the earth to get the church. He doesn't come to stay. He comes to get the earth, a church out of the earth and take us back to heaven. That's why Revelation chapter 7, verses 9 through 14 comes into play, that multitude is taken out of the earth and identifies those that came out of great tribulation, but they're before the throne in heaven at the end of the 7-year period. And like I said, if you want to see the full layout of my teaching on the book of Revelation, in the YouTube slot there, type in PT1, the pre-wrath rapture, and the third coming of Jesus, and I'll show you the second coming of Jesus and the third coming of Jesus, how that works out. So back to the scriptures. Verse 15, it says this, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens, in the rocks, and in the rocks of the mountains. Why are they hiding? Because they know, just like verse 14 just said, Jesus just entered our atmosphere. This is not a secret thing at Jesus' second coming. The secret coming is Jesus' third coming, which is in Revelation chapter 16, verse 15. He says, behold, I come as a thief. That is Jesus' secret coming. It is not his second coming at the end of the 7 years, right? And at the end of the 7 years, he comes to get the church and takes us out of the earth. He does not stay on the earth at the end of the 7 years. Why? Because he has to pour out his wrath upon the earth, and the wrath of God and the wrath of the Lamb, the trumpets of the wrath of the Lamb, the bowls of the wrath of God, they both happen after the 7-year period is over. I show you this in my layout of the book of Revelation, PT1, the pre-wrath rapture, and the third coming of Jesus. So the kings of the earth, verse 15 again, and the great men and rich men, the chief captains and the mighty men, and every bondman and every free man is hiding in the dens of the rocks of the mountains, because they know Jesus is here. They know Jesus has come into our atmosphere. They may not see him, right? According to Hebrews 9:28, Jesus says he'll only appear to those who are looking for him the second time. So they may not be able to see Jesus, but they know that he's here in the atmosphere. Verse 16, it says, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? That is the second coming of Jesus. And this thing about the second coming of Jesus being a secret coming, it's not. The whole world will know Jesus has entered this atmosphere and that his presence is here in the earth. And I said before, they will be scurrying like rats in the corners trying to hide from Jesus. And Jesus was coming at that time, at his second coming, to take us out of there, take us back to heaven, so he could pour out the wrath. Remember, if you want to listen to my full layout of the book of Revelation, I've not found one like it yet on all of YouTube. I've seen some that were very, very close. But everybody, here's the big difference in what I teach and what others teach, which opens up the book of Revelation. Everybody thinks everything happens in 7 years, and it doesn't. That is the problem. The trumpets and the bowls happen for a minimum of 3 years and 11 months longer than the 7-year period. So once the 7-year period ends, the wrath of the Lamb and the wrath of God happens after the 7 years and not during. So if you want to see this and you want to hear a lot more things that you are not being taught in the book of Revelation, I promise you, it is a very, very interesting study, a very, very interesting read. So you can get more firepower to go and ask your folks who's teaching Bible prophecy at your church or whatever, why aren't we teaching this? Why, let me show you something new. Let me show you this and so forth. And I even show people in the Bible where the Bible says if we are here on the earth during the reign of the Antichrist and live through his reign from the midpoint of 7 years to a day, the 1335th day, from the beginning of the midpoint of 7 years or the reign of the Antichrist, if you live through that time, if you're here on earth and live through that time and see that day, you were blessed. You were blessed. That's Daniel chapter 12, verses 11 through 12. You want to hear more things about the book of Revelation you never heard? Go watch the video. God bless you and bye-bye.